parklands. But maybe that parkland's going to be across the street on one of those parking lots across the street. Federal Realty owns both pieces of property. Well, they have a 99-year lease on this one, but close enough. And so we should be working with Federal on deciding what the overall development should look like. Again, we may want to have one of these pedestrian overpasses here on Winchester as a traffic calming measure. And so I think that the other piece is we need to get the neighbors involved at the very beginning. When you have engaged neighborhood who's educated on all the issues, they're very good partners in the development process.
Chappie?
You know, as I've been listening to the conversation, and we always refer to Santana Row as an urban village, and really Santana Row is unique. It's unique above and beyond any of the other urban village concepts in the city. And I think it's going to take a unique approach to work through the process of making that property work. And that approach is, again, working with the community, working with you, listening to your needs and your concerns and how it's going to impact your life and your quality of life, talking to the developers, talking to the property owners, getting everybody in the room and going through the process, taking all the input in from the developer, the residents, the property owners, and coming up with a plan and a concept that's going to work for everybody. It's going to be compromise that's going to be involved. There's going to be some give and take. But at the end of the day, we can come up with a quality solution that finds common ground and is a win-win for everybody.
Thank you. Mitch?
I was probably at the Winchester Theater when it first opened back in 65, 64. I was also at the last showing they had there. I understand the time and the people have there. It's an emotional thing. It's an icon for San Jose. That whole area being redeveloped is going to create more traffic there. Seniors that live in the Winchester Mobile Home Park live there because they want to spend the rest of their life there. They don't want to have to be kicked out. They don't have to worry about, am I going to be here tomorrow? Am I not going to be here tomorrow? Just because they have a mobile home doesn't mean it's mobile. These things are almost permanent, and moving them is not an easy thing if it can't be done at all. So the property should be developed in a way that the people in the area have input on what can be used for. But before any development's done, they should address the traffic problem on Winchester Boulevard. Correct that first. Thank you.
Susan?
So we need to slow down this proposed development. I know that the engines are going really quickly. And I was here at the very first meeting in August outside on the trees when you first talked about how concerned you were. I think you need to, a lot of the people, let me back up, have already worked really hard. And you come up with your top 10. So when you go to the table and you're working with all the different stakeholders that are involved in this surrounding area, that you can say, these are the things that we absolutely want. We don't want to see Olson Road open. We want to have mitigation for traffic. We want to have some resolution for the mobile park. We want to help them be able to find some way to be able to buy that property because it's the only unsubsidized senior housing in District 1. And I think when we start to work together through all these issues and they see how many people in District 1 value the community's support, that we'll be able to compromise and be able to work out a great deal. Thank you.
Tim?
Okay, as I emphasized, I will emphasize again, it appears we need to take another look at this plan in the first place. First of all, as the organizational chart says for the city of San Jose, the voters are going to have the most input. So the first thing I want to do is find out what the neighborhood thinks about what to do with the area. You're the boss. You're on the top of the list. So we get the neighborhood, get the leaders together. Once we've got some sort of consensus about where we want to go, then bring in the developers and the city, which I'll be, of course, hopefully, and get us together, and then we'll discuss it. But the voters are going to have the highest input. Voters in the area. As for the Century Theater, personally, I'm not too enthused about saving buildings, but we've got a lot of people that want to save the building. Again, the voters are the boss. We're going to save the building. And as far as the mobile home park goes, that's people absolutely no way am I going to vote anything less than a no vote for rezoning. No rezoning. That mobile park stays. Thank you.
We're now going to progress to yes/no questions, and you all have paddles. The Y is for yes, oddly enough, and the red is for no.
Abstain.
And abstain is like this. But I'd like to have you hold those paddles up high when you make your vote so that everyone in the back can see how you're voting. First question is, in order for the Winchester Ranch Mobile Home Park to be developed, a zoning change will be required. Would you support such a zoning change? Yes or no? The current conversion ordinance, the second question, is the current conversion ordinance for mobile home parks was written in 1986. Do you support a rewriting of the ordinance to clarify it and bring it up to date? Yes or no? The third question is, do you believe developers should be required to mitigate traffic concurrently with their development projects? Yes or no?
Easy one, guys.
Yes or no, I guess. The next question is, does the Winchester Ranch Mobile Home Park meet the needs for affordable housing in the urban village concept? Yes or no?
It doesn't, but it should.
The fifth question is, and the last yes or no question, is do you believe that county sheriff's officers should be used to augment the San Jose Police Force in District 1? Yes or no? We're now going to progress to questions that came in from the audience. They've been printed on 3 or 5 cards by our staff, and this was a 60-second question. It's for all of you, and we'll start with you, Bob.
Okay, 60 seconds.
60 seconds. The question is, new technologies enable accurate traffic counts using live video feeds. How will you advocate use of these technologies to help mitigate current traffic problems and use those technologies to hold developers accountable for traffic problems where there are new developments and those new developments will create such traffic problems?
Well, 2 things here. I'm an avid supporter of technological solutions. I'm an IT project manager, and I can think of all sorts of different technological solutions we can use to help facilitate better ways of doing business within the city. Traffic, as far as traffic is concerned, yes, we should use these technologies as far as having cameras, being able to have back-end systems that can count the cars, identify the lights, be able to time things, have it so that our rapid transit and our emergency vehicles can get through lights quickly. There's a lot of technologies that we should use. And as I mentioned a little while ago, there is a requirement that developers mitigate their impacts to the extent possible, not go well beyond their impacts because that's a legal issue, but the developers have to mitigate the impacts that they make for their specific development. So they should be working with the various agencies, whether it's the city, VTA, et cetera, to make sure those are taken care of, and technology is a great way to do it.
Champion?
I also come out of the technology world, most recently at Apple. So I'm a firm believer in the use of and the benefits of technology, but only if you use it smartly. And for any particular technology, we need to figure out the return on the investment. It's because a lot of these technologies are very expensive, and the benefit that you get from those technologies aren't what people are expecting. So I would definitely go through, again, the process of really understanding the benefits and impacts of that technology. And if the benefits outweigh the cost, then I would be in favor of it. And as far as the developers are concerned, I agree that they should be held accountable in terms of any projects that they do, how that impacts traffic, how that impacts the community. And I will hold each developer accountable and responsible for making sure that anything they do in District 1 is accounted for in terms of the impact it's going to have to the community and your quality of life.
Thank you, Rich.
design engineer here in Silicon Valley for the past 40 years, a lot of the technology used from day to day now, I helped develop. I had a hand in some form or another. It's early stages. Technology is great, but it's not the solution to everything. Having technology, you have to know how to use it. At this very spot right here, I teach a computer class. People come in there, basic class, oh, I know how to use a computer. Well, turn this one on. They didn't even know how to turn it on. So understanding the technology will allow you to use it more effectively. We have the ability here to say, this is good technology, let's use it. This technology does part of what we want, but doesn't do everything. Get somebody who understands the technology so you don't end up like Oakland's police department with a bunch of radios that don't work because they don't know how to use them. Thank you.
Susan?
So as I mentioned earlier, the Department of Transportation in San Jose is implementing a center this summer to mitigate some of these problems with traffic congestion. So we'll see how that works out. Of course, if there's new technologies, we also want to look at the cost and benefits, because sometimes cities and other people, and even corporations have made mistakes where they implement a certain kind of software and it doesn't succeed. So that's one thing. The other thing that I would stand real steady on is making sure that when there's any new development, that the developers pay the fees that they're supposed to pay. In the city council, even the existing city council has recently in North San Jose did not pay. They decreased some of the traffic mitigation in North San Jose, and so what happens? Who ends up paying for it? We do. They need to be steadfast, and they need to be responsible for that. Thank you.
Jim?
First, something you need to know about me is I am a civil libertarian, and when we begin to talk about cameras, doing surveillance, the hair goes back on the back of my head. It's not doing that right now. But so, yeah, if we're talking about any sort of cameras, then I get a little bit concerned. Again, neighborhood input is the thing that matters most. Cost benefits, as Chappie mentioned, I think is something we need to take a look at, and holding the developers accountable. Chappie also mentioned that one of the things about being down the line is you get to talk about things that people have already talked about. And we need to prevent the problem in the first place. Let's not create, we just got to take a look at this again. Thank you.
The next question is that came in from the audience is talking about the future of mobile home parks in San Jose. It's a yes/no question. So again, if you'll grab your paddles and be prepared. Mayor Reed, when referring to the mobile home conversion ordinance to staff for study, indicated that he wants the council to be able to refuse to convert mobile homes at all. Do you agree, yes or no? The next question is for Bob Levy. A 60-second question. Bob, the Mercury News endorsed you as they cited your compassion for seniors. I'm concerned that you are not familiar with the mobile home park conversion ordinance and your statements about developing the front 1/3 of the Winchester Ranch Mobile Home Park and closing the main street into a park for a public promenade. These are simply not compassionate or realistic. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, I am very compassionate towards the people in the mobile home park. My mom is 92 years old, still lives at home alone, and when last week was her birthday, actually, and on her birthday she got on the bus and she went over the hill to UCLA and took a seminar, and then on the way home she stopped off and took another seminar. So I think, and if she got moved, it would probably kill her. So I have no interest at all in seeing anything happen at mobile home park. As far as my comments about the promenade, that was in reference to the Winchester Mystery House and how important an asset that is to our city. And how what I'd like to see is that parking lot right next to it be moved out and having a pedestrian promenade come through and that be gardens and the parking be back on where they're planning on their urban village. Because I think that's an incredible asset to our city and we want to respect it. And I don't think it's respected to the nature it is now.
Thank you, Bob. This next submission from the audience is a yes/no question in reference to union negotiation. Will you support a more transparent and open negotiation process between the city and unions so that the public can know firsthand how negotiations were conducted? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Thank you. The next question is for everyone, and we'll start with Chappie. It's a 30-second question. Have you served on any city committees? If so, which ones?
I am currently your commissioner on the San Jose Neighborhoods Commission, representing District 1. I've also served as a commissioner on the Small Business Development Commission, where I was instrumental in actually developing and leading the creation of a small and local business preference ordinance. It's on the books to this day. It's providing opportunities for small businesses here in San Jose to have a preference when they compete for city contracts, as well as serving on numerous other boards and commissions as well.
Thank you. Rich?
Currently, I serve my 4th year on the senior commission. I was appointed by the mayor. I also served as a vice chair. Currently, I'm vice president here on the advisory council of this particular senior center. Both occasions, I authored a letter to the city council and the mayor to save the Winchester Mobile Home Park. And that letter is somebody's out there actually doing something and not talking about it. I'm taking action because I want to save where you live.
Thank you. Susan?
I was appointed to the San Jose Arts Commission, and I also served on the 2010 steering committee for arts and culture in San Jose. I've also been involved with the multicultural events and arts education, and also responsible for Parades and Festival, where we would have the annual 4th of July festival, and I'm glad the Rotary is going to bring back the 4th of July this summer. Thank you.
Tim?
First of all, let me state no, and I do have a lack of experience in this, and the reason for this lack of experience is I'm a very, very blue-collar worker. $76,000 is the median income in San Jose. I'm well below that. I've got to work. I would really like to do more, and I would be, but I do have to work, and please don't use the lack of experience against me, because I do really care about these things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't currently sit on any commissions. I have sat on 2 Parks and Rec commissions in the past. I currently sit as a chairperson for the Blossom Valley Athletic League girls golf program, which I developed. There was no girls golf program prior to for public schools at all, and I just saw the need for that and pushed through with the school district. When working with school districts is very difficult to try to get anything new done, and so I sit on a lot of different other committees. None of them are city committees anymore. I have had some experience with city committees.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes, I've sat on maybe 15 committees or commissions. I'm currently chair of the City Parks Commission, and I'm on the Water District's Environmental Advisory Committee. My chairmanship on that just ended a month or 2 ago. I've been on the Planning Commission and chaired that, on the County Parks Commission and chaired that, on the General Plan Advisory Committee for the county, on the Strategic Planning Committee for the Parks, the County Parks Department, lots of other committees and commissions. I'm very active.
Thank you. This next question is for Chappie Jones, a 60-second question. Chappie, when looking at your financial contributions, it looks like 70% of your donations are from outside the Bay Area, and 13% are from out of state. You also have many donations from developers and builders. Can you tell us how your candidacy is important to people outside of San Jose? And why are so many developers supporting you?
Great question. In my 54 years of life, I've maintained relationships with people throughout the country. I have donations from individuals that I've known since I was 2 years old. And during my travels and during my life, I've had these wonderful relationships. So a lot of those donations that you see there are from out of the city or out of the state, or just my network of people that I've met along the way. People that know me, believe in me, and believe in what I'm trying to do. As far as the developers are concerned, yes, I have contributions from developers in the business community. but in no way has that impacted my ability to represent you as the citizens in District 1. And a good example of that is my position on the mobile home park. I support the residents there. I'm going to stand behind them 100%, and I'm going to take the leadership position in terms of representing them in the park. And it's more than just having that vote. It's also influencing other city council members to also go along with me.
Thank you, and Kathy, for answering a tough question. The next topic is federal realty, and is again a yes or no question. When the city develops the land where the theaters are, will you stand with us to not open the back streets for access? We do not want people driving in and out of our neighborhoods. Thank you. This next question is a 60-second question for everyone. How important do you think regionalization of services, such as libraries or fire department, are to future service levels, and cost control? This is a 60-second question, and I think, Rich, we're starting with you.
Libraries have suffered a lot in the last few years because of city cutbacks. Unfortunately, they're closed during the hours and the days when people really need them. My suggestion is they look at the hours and the days are open so they'll be able to be there when the people want to use them. Also, there's a tremendous number of volunteers just aching to work to help out the libraries. You don't require a lot of intelligence or degree in libraries to be able to put a book on the shelf. But there's a union issue there. The unions don't want too many volunteers in. Use the volunteers throughout the library system. They're the best thing that can happen. The libraries will be able to stay open longer and be able to offer more services to the people who use the libraries.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi. People have brought this up, and I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to really to look at the analysis to see whether it's really cost effective. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, neighborhoods are different, and the likes and the preferences are changed from, even in West San Jose, from different areas, or in San Jose. So I'm not sure how that would work at a regional level. I would need to have further information to be able to give you a truthful answer. I don't like giving answers to things that I have not researched. So I would have to defer and be able to get back to you with a truthful answer. Thank you.
Tim?
And I'm with Susan on that one. This isn't an area that I've seen any statistics on, but I will say this: regionalization of these services may be necessitated by the increased growth if we do go the direction of the urban villages. So what I have to say is that, like I said, I haven't seen any statistics how it would be done, but if we continue to go the direction we're going, it may be that we're going to have to do this just as a necessity. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I like the volunteer concept with the libraries. I think we should have a head librarian, and then the rest should be all volunteers and expand the hours. Calabasas Library was rebuilt and sat fallow for years with nobody in it, and it was kids need to have someplace to go after school, and that helps with safety issues. The other issue is response time on our fire department right now, especially in D1, is really, really poor. I was at the West San Tomas Neighborhood Association last week, and they were talking about how it's down to 8 minutes now on some of the response times in D1, which is way past the norm. 8 minutes is a long time, and so we may have to reach out and work with Santa Clara County Fire to get additional coverage on a lot of stuff, especially the west end of the city. That's just way too long for them to be able to respond.
Thank you, Bob.
When you drive down Stevens Street, you drive through Cupertino and San Jose and then Santa Clara. We already live in a regional world, and we need to coordinate from a regional perspective. You know, our city streets needs to work with their city streets, needs to work with VTA. The same is true with emergency vehicles. Our daughter choked and almost died. If they didn't get there in 2-3 minutes, our daughter wouldn't be in college right now. And so if we have a fire station that's close to a house and the other ones are busy, then yes, we should be able to have a regional dispatch. I think it's really important that we collaborate as jurisdictions. We collaborate with school districts in providing parklands, so we can, because District 1 has the least amount of parkland for any district in the city, and we need to work with the school districts and joint use agreements to be able to provide for parkland. So doing it from a regional perspective in collaboration with the other jurisdictions, I think is critical to successful services.
Thank you, Chappie.
Again, I'm a pragmatist. And so when I look at a regional solution, I look at what makes sense. Does it make sense if you have a house that's across the street from, say, a Santa Clara fire station, and that fire truck does not roll to your house and get there in 2 minutes? So for regional solutions that make sense, I'm in favor of it. For solutions that don't make sense or don't work, I'm not in favor of it. So it really is a case-by-case situation. And I can use a specific example. So I live in that part of San Jose that's right between Cupertino and Saratoga. So I see the sheriff's department roll through my area, my neighborhood, to go from one city to the next. That's a regional resource that could be used to patrol our streets and our neighborhoods as well, to look out for speeders or criminal activity that is not being utilized now. That's an area where it makes sense. So it's really a case-by-case situation. When it makes sense, we'll do it, and when it doesn't make sense, we won't do it.
This next question is a Winchester Orchard Neighborhood Association question. It's a 30-second question for each of you. How will you advocate for and assist the Winchester Orchard Neighborhood Association with steering reasonable growth? And we're starting with, where are we starting? Susan, it's your turn.
Could you please repeat the question, please?
How will you advocate?
And clarify, please.
How will you advocate for and assist the Winchester Orchard Neighborhood Association with steering reasonable growth? I think the question is, how can we go about providing for reasonable growth in this area?
Well, I think I've already done that and have been a resource to the Winchester Neighborhood Association by bringing in experts that are looking at urban villages and how to help assist them with some of the potential planned growth that will be occurring in this area. And I would continue to be a resource and bring in other stakeholders to help them organize and be able to reach out to the community and plan. Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Okay, again, this boils down, we're always getting back to this issue. This is a plan that's in place, and again, it's going to boil down, we're going to have to take another look at the plan as residents here. So that's really the issue as I see. We've got to take another look at the whole development scheme in the area, and if we don't want this as a neighborhood, then we've got to say no to it.
All right.
I stated before that I'm really against the mobile park having any kind of change to it. And if I'm in city council, I'll make sure that variance doesn't get pushed through. At least that'll be one vote against it. Development is like, we really have to worry about traffic, and we're just not talking about the Winchester area. Every area we have the urban concept, we really need to make sure we do a case-by-case study on that stuff and study the traffic patterns. Thanks.
The urban village along Stevens Creek could have significant traffic impacts on the neighborhood. And so I think it's really important that the neighborhood is brought into the process at the very beginning, when we first start talking about the urban village there. And whenever there's a development proposal, the first people who should be notified are the neighbors, and the neighbors should be able to understand what's going on. As a council member, my staff will be available all the time to help, and I'd also help facilitate bringing in experts to help out with understanding the situation. So I said a minute ago.
Thank you, Bob.
Maybe next time.
A key to this is, obviously, we talked about getting the neighborhood and community input. Listening to you, hearing your needs, So we already know that needs to take place. But the other key piece of that too is that as a city councilman for District 1, it's one vote on the council. So it's that leadership ability, the skills that I bring, the skills that I have in my toolbox in terms of motivating, inspiring, influencing people to go along with my vision and purpose is the key to how I'm going to be able to support and enhance the quality of life in this area.
Thank you, Rich.
Something that our moderator said a few questions ago, when the city develops it, it's not a done deal yet. The city has not stepped forward to do anything about this. The urban village concept can coexist with the mobile home park, perhaps of a smaller scale, perhaps in another location. But first of all, they have to look at the people involved in it and what's going to happen to them. Right now, if these people have to leave this mobile home park, there's no place for them to go here in San Jose. They're going to end up way out in the valley someplace, and they might not even be able to afford it. So we want to make sure they have input.
Thank you. This next question is for everyone. It's a 30-second question. And it has to do with the potential development of the Century Theaters, where the traffic problems are severe. And the question is, why are we allowing, or why would we potentially allow more building and housing where those theaters are presently located? This is a 30-second question. I guess we start with Tim.
Okay, I think we've all kind of answered this again, so let me reiterate kind of my position on this. I personally am not a big proponent in saving buildings, but I know that the people here are want this Century saved. That's job number one. We're going to save the Century. Number two, once again, we got to take another look at the plan. So we're going to save this Century Theater because the residents want to save it. That's the reason why. Not that I agree with it, but we're going to save it. And number two, again, take a look at the plan. Thank you.
All right.
I don't think the Century Theater was part of the question, but I'm going to answer that part of it anyway. I really like the Century 21 Theater. I grew up here. I've been a lifelong resident. San Jose is my hometown, and I would like to see the 21 Theater to stay. I really would. There's no way we can do another Santana Row across the street on Winchester and King Street Boulevard. There's just no way we can do that. The traffic will be crazy there. And before we even think about doing something like that, we need to really find some other kind of transportation.
Thank you, Art.
Great. The question was, why are we developing there and potentially causing greater impacts? I think we really need to take that step back a little bit and say, it's not only here, it's why are we developing these low-density things like the Century Theaters and adding more density to them? And that is because the city has to develop, because we're the heart of the Silicon Valley and we're going to develop a little bit. We have to for our economic engine, we have to provide housing for our children, and so this is one of those areas that has been designated to have more development. We have to do whatever we can to mitigate the traffic impacts, but that's the general idea.
Nothing should happen with any of these sites until there's a clear plan in terms of how it's going to impact traffic, how it's going to impact Winchester, and that plan needs to be laid out and presented to the residents that are going to be impacted by that, and it needs to go through the process. Again, it could be a workable solution, it could involve compromise, but unless there's a clear, specific plan and mitigation on the impact to traffic, then nothing should move forward.
The removal of the Century 21 Theater not only affects that particular area, but the homes and the people, the residents around it. They want to put streets through, they want to put more traffic. People are going to avoid Winchester by going to the back roads, just like they do in my neighborhood. They avoid Saratoga Avenue, take the back roads. We needed some traffic calming devices. We got stop signs put in. Moving or closing or doing something with the Century 21 Theater is not going to solve the problem. All it's going to do is move it from one location to another.
The question had to do with traffic, so I'm against opening up Olson Road. But the other thing is I wanted to say, having walked back behind the Winchester, behind the Centuries, is what's really beautiful and breathtaking is to be able to see the hills from on the street below. And I And so whatever happens there, and we don't know, I think it has to be conducive, it has to match the neighborhood, because we have a lot of beautiful homes that are back there, and it should work together.
Thank you. This next question is a 30-second question, and has to do with traffic. One of our favorite subjects. What is the possibility of pedestrian overcrossings on Stephen Creek and Winchester? Pedestrians crossing from one shopping center to another creates lots of congestion, and such pedestrian overcrossings would help eliminate this. Could you speak, each of you, to that question of the practicality of pedestrian overcrossings? Eric, I think you're first.
Yeah, I won't use my 30 seconds, that's for sure. Yeah, we definitely have to have those put in. And when you're traveling through Santana Row on Stevens Creek, especially on any given afternoon, the traffic is horrendous there. We've got to be able to have that the traffic pass through there. We've got to have those pedestrian overpasses.
I think that was one of our great mistakes when Santana Row first went in, that we didn't get that pedestrian overpass there. And that's one of the reasons I'm really promoting taking the step back and taking our time and looking at the urban village from the holistic perspective, so that we can get the developers to say, here's an impact that you need to mitigate. Possibly one that goes over to Valley Fair, another one possibly between the two federal properties. I think that's critical, and to provide pedestrian access and make these. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby?
Definitely a pedestrian overcrossing was a missed opportunity. It didn't take place, it didn't happen. It should have, and it's impacting traffic flow on Stevens Creek Boulevard. Again, we go back to the need, the cost, and the benefit. To build something like that would be very expensive. And I'm not saying it's not worth the